Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Judas. Yesterday's daily was a bit of a unique one, and if you didn't catch the video, what I did is essentially I took the downlight, so whenever I got hit in an unfair manner, I put those clips in one video. I kinda edited the music together. In overall it was like 30 to 40 seconds long, so it wasn't like a regular commented daily video like this one is. But it was more like a montage of me just getting hit in very unfortunate ways. And I decided to go that route just mainly because I had a video like not too long ago where I died on the third or the second floor, and the total video was like 3 minutes long, and I didn't really have a chance to talk about anything, so it was mostly me blabbering about how bad the daily was. And I don't think that's really entertaining content. Maybe it is entertaining to some, but overall I just think it's very low effort. And I decided instead of doing that, I'll just have a little bit of fun, and what I'll do is just edit it together and just kind of set some music over, and I think that's a much better representation of what I was going for on those bad dailies than if I just talked about it. And in that case, it's surprising because that video actually took longer than my usual video, and you probably wouldn't think that just looking at like maybe the runtime. But the fact was, I had to go through the clip, I had to find the right clips, I had to sync them up to the music, and it's not like it took a long amount of time, but it definitely took like 3, maybe even 4 times longer than just a regular commented daily video does. And that's mostly because, like I said, just finding the right clips, kind of putting them together, just making sure that they're right length, that they are in the right places at the right time, and the music actually kind of syncs up to what's going on. It's a process that I would say is very time consuming. It's not maybe particularly very hard, but I'm also maybe not as experienced with that type of editing, so for that reason it was maybe a bit more difficult for me. But still, it was like a fun experiment I made, and I hope some of you appreciated it. I certainly did. When I look back at it, I was like, you know, this daily was horrible, and now I have kind of a commemoration just to how bad it was in a 30-second video, which kind of highlights just what was bad about it. Nevertheless, yesterday's daily was yesterday, and today's daily is today, and we have a new run going on here. And because we're playing as Judas, this run is actually starting out really pretty decent. With Judas, there's always that kind of a initial hurdle that you have to overcome, just having 1 red HP. And when you kind of go on, or maybe forward from that, you just have to survive up until a certain point, and you're kind of guaranteed, maybe just due to virtue of chance or luck, to get a lot more HP ups or a lot more DPS ups. And because Judas really does scale well with damage, because essentially Judas does have a higher damage multiplier than any other character in the game, that means that less stat ups for him will eventually mean that you're going to be doing more damage than any other character. And when that happens, you're in a very good position. But of course, you still have to go through those maybe 1 or 2 initial floors where there's just everything out to kill you. And sometimes where you don't get the spirit heart to kind of protect you early on, it can be even hard to take a devil deal. Thankfully, what's good for us that is, he does start out with 3 cents. And essentially that means that we can afford to go to one of the shops if we have an extra key, and then buy a spirit heart in there. It's quite likely that there's a spirit heart in the shop, and whenever you can afford it, it's usually a very good idea to buy it on the first floor or on the second floor. Obviously, one of the reasons is so you can die by just getting hit once, but the other reason is that you can afford to take a devil deal and then actually have that item stick with you and not die when you pick it up. So spirit hearts are a great get, even just 1 spirit heart, and even if you can afford just 1 spirit heart, I would say that puts you on a very good track to go forward and just have a much higher chance of winning overall. Besides that, this daily did start out with probably one of the dream items that you really want to get in every item room, and that's Polyphemus. Polyphemus is an item that is here from the base game, and it never gets less exciting to see. First of all, it's a rare item. I think it shows up just the right amount of time for a rare item, even though maybe I haven't seen it in like 20 episodes, and before that I didn't see it in like 50 episodes or whatever. I still feel when it shows up, it's an exciting pickup, and you're always so happy to see the item Polyphemus. And you're not only excited because obviously it does give you insane amount of damage, but also because it synergizes well with pretty much every item. You're never not happy to see it. Unlike some items where you have soy milk, for example, and you're like, if I take soy milk now, my run will be wrecked, for example. In some cases, of course, that's not true, but there's more cases where soy milk is bad than where it's good, so, you know, maybe that's an unfair comparison, but I feel like those items are very similar in concept because they're both extreme stat changes. What Polyphemus does increases your damage by a lot and reduces your tear delay, and of course what soy milk does is increases your tear delay, or maybe decreases your tear delay, depending how you look at it, and then decreases your damage. So it's kind of a reverse thing. The only thing is that I feel Polyphemus is much more balanced and much more fair and much more fun to use, so it never feels like you're being cheated when you pick up the item, unlike with some of the other extreme stat items. What I really like about the fact, there's like one maybe technological fact of it, is that it's not a really cool item. It's not an item that maybe gives you a technology there. It doesn't give you lasers, and it doesn't give you blood brimstone or whatever. It's just a simple stat change, and for some reason it still has this reputation and respect from players all around who are playing the Isaac game, that it's just one of the best and most fun items you can pick up, and I think that that's very telling for just the style of the item, and it's just very fitting. And I think that goes to tell that it's not just about cool synergies, it's not just about cool effects. Items can be really fun and entertaining for people to use, even if they are simple, but they just kind of fit a thematic theme. In this case, when you pick up Polyphemus, you know what you're gonna get, and the change is visible immediately, and whoever kind of gets it is gonna be excited by it, because you see that your damage is increased, even if your tear delay is lowered. Just the ability to one-shot enemies in a room is such a rewarding feeling that I feel like it's one of those items that really does it right. The only thing I kind of have a complaint about is the sprite. It just feels a bit wonky to me. I'm not really sure why it doesn't really look like an eye. Then again, you know, what really does look like an eye? A realistic eye would probably look a lot different. But if you look at the eyes on the ground, which shoot lasers, and the eyes of the Polyphemus, I feel like there's a huge discrepancy in how they look, and it just kind of looks off to me. Maybe that just me, of course. I can expect some people to agree with me, and I know some people just won't agree with me, because that's life, you know. Everybody has their own opinion. Besides Polyphemus, this run was still good, you know. We did get a bunch of other really good items that kind of increase our damage. On the first floor, we got Steven, we got Small Rock, which you never see, you know. Just getting Steven is already a rare thing indeed, but to get on top of that a Polyphemus and Small Rock is just a dream come true. What is kind of a downer that after that we didn't really get any more damage upgrades. We got some tears ups, and our tear delay got lowered, which kind of increased our DPS, but not really by much, because with Polyphemus tear delays aren't that important. Sure, they're important to some degree, but I would say that in a lot of cases it doesn't really super matter, just because you really can't do much with it. You essentially will one or maybe two shot an enemy in the room, but maybe the change from one shooting them or maybe two shooting them in a second and a half as opposed to a second is negligible, and it doesn't make too big of a difference. It still helps, and maybe makes the item feel a bit more responsive and just a bit more fun to use, but overall tear delays or tear upgrades aren't maybe that good with this particular item. Of course, it's still good if you pick up some other items which synergize with tears ups, but for now, you know, just tears ups aren't that good. The point I was trying to make here is that we didn't really get any or much of the DPS upgrades past the first floor. Thankfully, just because of this combination of items, just the fact that the Polyphemus is so strong, that was kind of enough to still carry us through and just to kind of get through with it, and some of the other items definitely helped as well. I think the biggest MVP here was Succubus, and Succubus does scale with your damage, and as it travels around the room with its aura dealing damage to every enemy in the room, it does really some nice work, and especially in small rooms, it essentially covers like half of the room, maybe I would say 1/4 of the room, and when it bounces around, it's very likely to hit all of the other enemies which are in there. And because it scales with our damage, it's actually dealing just a ton of damage to everyone every single frame, and it's just bonkers. and that was probably the biggest damage contributor and just the biggest damage dealer. Another great fact is that if it do stay in its aura, just because our damage is naturally high and it gets increased by 50%, we're suddenly dealing 50 damage instead of just 30, and that's also one of the nice maybe side benefits and side effects of the item that just make it so much more fun and much more usable in this case. All in all, it was a very poignant run. It was strong. It wasn't like super crazy powerful. Maybe overall I still lacked some damage and some swag bonus. For some reason this run didn't have really a lot of consumables in the end, so it was quite hard to get through and just find them all. But overall I'm satisfied with this run. I definitely feel whenever I lose a run, or maybe when I die on a daily, then the next daily is just so much more difficult for me. I just feel like out of sync, like I have to get used to it. Thankfully, this daily was okay for me to get reset, and I feel like my next one will be even better. Overall, we did rank in like the top 100, which is okay, not maybe the most perfect of the scores, but still okay, and our total score was 46,000. Just one thing before I go is that I think you could probably tell that again my throat is hurting a bit, and I'm not really sure what's up with me and the fact that I'm getting sick for like 4 times in the past month, and it's really annoying, but nevertheless I'm trying to persevere, and that's also the reason why this video is late. I just wanted to give you maybe a heads up if you did come so far, and if you did, I thank you for watching through the whole video. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.